Hello everyone, a very good morning to you and welcome to 2024 with the Ferrari Challenge, where a lot is new and something that's also new is the fact that the sun is shining. That hasn't been so prevalent over the days that we've been here in Tuscany thus far this week, but here we are Saturday and the sun is shining. A little bit of cloud around, but that matters not. And here we are then in Mugello for round one of our challenge for 2024. 5.245 kilometers then, this circuit, just under an hour from Florence, maybe an hour and 10 from Bologna, situated in Scarperia here in Tuscany as we look at turn one, which is the San Donato turn. And we'll be taking a look at what is going to be an awesome calendar for 2024, where we kick it all off here in Mugello. Then we'll be going to a brand new circuit, Balaton in Hungary, Jerez, then Portimao, then La Casale, and Nürburgring, of course, to come as round 6. That is our calendar for 2024. As always, the case with the Ferrari Challenge, a great mix of circuits which will really, really test our drivers. And as if they're not tested enough, of course, this year, 2024, we have a brand new car. As we can see, drivers then in stages of preparation ahead of getting this qualifying underway. And really interesting this year is the fact that the entry level is so high in terms of numbers that we have Shell Am, of course, in terms of qualifying, but also some drivers in the previous car, the 488 Challenge Evo. 19 degrees the track temperature, 14 the air, humidity 70%, and zero wind whatsoever. None at all. Well, that's something to salute and applaud, that's for sure. Undulating is a fair word to use to describe the Mugello circuit and some of the vantage points then that you can see around this track that makes its way through the rolling countryside of Tuscany. So great shots that we're getting inside then the pit lane and into the garages, as well as drivers are getting prepared to get out there and put the four first laps down in anger to set the times for qualifying, which will give us the grid as we look at the car, the back-to-guard car of one Mr. C. Kinch, Christian to his friends, who has made a great effort in terms of the car and the livery, saying, get well soon. Axel Sartingen, who has suffered a skiing injury. Axel, we miss you, friend, and we look forward to seeing you back on track very, very soon. And there we can see the Rosso Corsa driver, Pierluigi Alessandri, in his car. He's ready to go. And of course, behind every great driver, there is a great support team as well. And Stefano Guy just speaking there and making sure that his driver, who is about to go out there, Fabrizio Fontana, is as prepped as he can be in the 269 numbered 488 car. So a mix of 488 and 296s in this qualifying session, where we see Tibor Valint, the Ferrari Budapest driver. And alongside me, as always, is Nico Spalek. Great to be back again for another season, Nico. And you were doing some research just yesterday with regards to Tibor Valint, who this is not his first appearance in the Ferrari Challenge.
No, we don't think so. Good morning, everybody, as we are entering 2024 with a new car and some returning cars, obviously. Tibor Valint also returning, and we just had a look into our personal history with the Ferrari Challenge as we look at James Wallet. Hello. Yeah, thumbs up, thank you. Good to have you back as well. Having Tibor back as well in our very first Ferrari Challenge gig together. It was 15 years ago and a month or so in Monza. It was Tibor Valint who took podiums in the Ferrari Challenge Europe. Yeah, he is back here, and not only him, there is more family business with Benz Valint in Trofeo Pirelli, who we'll see about an hour from now. But we get this qualifying session, the first qualifying session of 2024, underway for Europe.
Murat Kuhadaroglu then was the very first driver to show and making his way out on track. Right now, here comes Pino Frascaro, and you can see James Wyland, who's on the telephone there, I suspect getting final instructions from Shannon, who's saying good luck. And Murat already appears to have found perhaps a barrier. Cold tyres, the car has gone around. The Kessel Racing driver gets it pointing back in the right direction once again. So Murat Kuhadaroglu then in the number 133 car, who has been, over the years, has been something of a fixture in the Ferrari Challenge, and this is how it happened. Thanks, guys. Got the replay in there really, really quickly. As I said, cold tyres, and yeah, just a slight glance against the... oh, in actual fact, it was almost a perfect parallel park, wasn't it, had there been cars in front and behind. So no harm done for Murat Kuhadaroglu, who's able to continue on the on his qualifying session and warming up the tyres, though they will have taken some almost a heat cycle in terms of scrubbing the speed off and avoiding any contact with the barriers there. So it was a good save, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see there is the Tommy Lindroth car, the 227, which normally would be the 127. That's the number that Tommy has sported for a number of years. In terms of number, you can differentiate. The 488 Challenge Evos entered into this category. They come with the numbers leading with a 2. Everybody else is on a 296. Those are the Shell drivers with the numbers from 100 to 199. And sporting the 133, there is again Murat Kuhadaroglu from Turkey. He was a very regular competitor in the challenge a number of years ago. Has done other stuff in the meantime, but very welcome back with the 296. Murat is back, and he's going through the turns in the final sector of this Mugello circuit.
And if I can make the ID for you even easier, the Shell drivers have the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen where you see the Adler livery in yellow. That means they're driving in the Shell category of our new 296 car. If in this qualifying session you see they have a blue strip across the top of the windscreen, it means they're using the 488. And we have some 8 or 9 488 drivers, some 17 of our 296 drivers, including one Manuela Gosner. Manuela Gosner, who will be taking to the track very, very soon, racing for the new team, Reparto Corsa, RAM, Ineco, and interestingly, the team run by her partner, Giorgio Senna-Giotto, who I spoke to just yesterday, and he himself has been a very, very successful racing driver, and he has just arrived, and he feels like the time is right now to become team management, team owner. And I said, are you going to be hanging up the crash helmet? And he kind of was a bit non-committal, to be fair. I think once a racing driver, you always want to be out there, don't you?
Well, and we will see Philip Barron later on in the Trofeo Pirelli, who's gone the cycle from challenge driver to challenge multiple champion to team boss, and now back to, I think, a hybrid role, if I understand correctly. He's certainly back in the challenge as a driver. You know, you can take the driver out of the cockpit, but you can't take the cockpit out of the driver, or something like that. I think there was a saying.
What a dreadful, dreadful analogy that was, if I may be so bold. Brilliant stuff.
Well, there is Murat Kuhadaroglu, and you can see the yellow on the sun strip is also reflected in our graphics, and you will see very shortly on the left-hand side when you will see the live standings and rankings, those colors, yellow, blue, and later other colors for the other categories, you will see those reflected, so you will always know who is doing what, not only overall, but also in category.
Yes, indeed, you will. We run the clock on Murat Kuhadaroglu. His cumulative time was 1:25, and he will be the first time to be set, and it will give us just a benchmark to look forward to. Murat Kuhadaroglu then making his way around the track. We can see from our vantage point here above the pit lane that various drivers in various stages of getting ready, not necessarily jumping out for the early stages of this. It is only a 30-minute qualifying session, and every driver has a different strategy. Every team has a different strategy. Some decide to go out and bank a lap early on, others choosing to wait until the track has rubbered in a little bit with some of those early runners. So Murat Kuhadaroglu was initially P1, but Luigi Alessandri has already vaulted that. And there we can see the car of Fabrizio Fontana. So Fabrizio will be going out on track, and he's coached by Stefano Gai, another truly remarkable Italian racing driver who's got quite some history with this wonderful Ferrari brand, and Willem van der Worm, Great to see Willem coming back into the Ferrari Challenge. A really likable driver and a champion driver as well, if I may say so, and I think I may. Christoph Herney from Zenith Scuderia is another returning driver. Now, Christoph, of course, I'm reluctant to mention his age, but he's certainly a senior competitor who not only has had a phenomenal racing career in these cars, but also in single-seaters as well. He has something of a great history in motor racing, and it's great to see Christoph Herney back again. This man, very well traveled, Ray Acosta, we were looking at his car a moment ago, has made his way here, having launched the North America season of the Ferrari Challenge just last weekend in COTA, the Circuit of the Americas. Ray was there competing, as indeed was I, talking about him. So welcome, Ray, and he's not the only North American driver to have made his way across the pond, as it were, to come and join in the European Challenge. We'll be mentioning more drivers during the course of the weekend. There is a great geographical mix in the Ferrari Challenge, where we have series in here in Europe. We also have North America, we have Japan, and of course we have the UK as well. The UK was the first this year to get underway, and we will be returning to the UK Championship just next weekend at Alton Park. So all our focus, though, this weekend is here in Mugello as we get the European season underway in earnest, and we look at the 144 car right now of Pierluigi Alessandri. Nico, who is top of the timing chart with a 1:53.810.
Absolutely, and talking about times, I mean, the 296 comes into this this championship as the successor of the 488 Challenge Evo, obviously, and I mean, the drivers who have stepped out of the car after having experienced it, each and every one has been amazed, and they have told us how much quicker, how agile the car is through the turns, on the exit, and we expect times that will be not by tens, but by seconds quicker than the best times we've seen on the respective tracks in the 488 Challenge Evo. They haven't really experienced it that much because of wet conditions throughout the week, and certainly wet conditions back in COTA last week, as you can attest. But with the dry running off the track, we will expect blistering times.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and great to mention that, because certainly our experience is such that as every driver jumps out of the car, big beaming smile on their face. We're looking at a 488 right now, which is being propelled around the Mugello circuit by Pino Frascaro, the Rosso Corsa driver, and Pino Frascaro then something of a old hand, it almost feels, in the Ferrari Challenge. Really likable, and his family always here to support him. And Mrs. Pino, as I call her, is always very generous in terms of my burgeoning waistline, and contributing to that with suitable gifts over every single race weekend. It's lovely to be held in such affection by the family. So Pino Frascaro, who for the 488 classification is P1 at the moment with a time of 2:02.185. Nico, the point he made about the new 296 car, which has got so many innovations, and just when you think, I mean, the 488 Challenge Evo was such a brilliant car, and the 488 in all its GT guises was such a winning car, but you just think things can't get any better, and then Ferrari pull the magic rabbit out of the hat and come up with a 296, which is totally awesome. Of course, for the first time, 6-cylinder, 700 horsepower and brake-by-wire, and lots of other innovations as well. And something that the drivers have been telling me is that they feel immediately so comfortable with the car because it is very forgiving, and it really allows our drivers to shine. Bless you. Oh, bless you again. Yeah, you're right to extol the virtues of the car that has been developed. Eric Prinot there, just chatting to one of our series photographers, Roberto Viva. Eric Prinot, again, another former Ferrari Challenge champion. Once you're in this family, it's very difficult to break away from it. And Eric has retired from racing after a decades-long, hugely successful racing campaign, but took the decision a couple or 3 years ago to hang the crash helmet up, but is still regularly seen in and around the paddock, and is a very, very welcome addition. Murat Kuhadaroglu, for our 296 Shell drivers, is currently second fastest. He's looking for an improvement here, and the improvement is coming because Sector 1 and Sector 2, you can see, are lit up and colored with a suggestion that he is going quicker. So the Kessel Racing driver, Murat Kuhadaroglu, his last time was a 2:02.704. This is going to be so much better than that as he breaks the timing beat. Well, he goes quicker, certainly by 8.5 tenths. Does that move him ahead of Alessandro Luigi Alessandri? No, it doesn't, as Tommy Lindrup goes second in the 488 class. Tommy actually now goes P1 with a 1:57.973. He, of course, is coached by another former Ferrari star, young Fabien Volvend, who is here this weekend coaching Tommy. And I think it's fair to say, Tommy, the relationship he has with Fabien Volvend has really paid dividends. Tommy is a supreme driver who regularly takes podiums, and we saw there Motohiko Sasaki, who, of course, last year was Coppa Shell Am champion, gets elevated into Coppa Shell this year, and looking forward to seeing Motohiko Sasaki, who incidentally was racing in Suzuka when the Japan series got underway. This is Thomas Loflad, and I'll stop talking now. This is Nico Spelling.
And Tom is also one of our returning drivers. Hasn't been in the challenge for a number of years, but good to see him back. And I think you can see immediately the effect that the 296 has, how it has piqued the interest of so many drivers who are part of that Ferrari family, and they just couldn't resist almost the appeal of coming back with the new car, and everything that we hear indicates that each of those drivers, the returning ones from a number of years ago and those who were always part of the challenge over the last few years, they all really enjoy it and love the experience.
Yes, they do. We've talked about the regions of the Ferrari Challenge worldwide, across North America, Europe, Japan, and also the UK. What we should also talk about is the fact that we're watching drivers that are in the Shell category, because we split the categories up in the Ferrari Challenge. We have the Shell drivers, we have the Shell Am drivers, we also have Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers, and a number of drivers through Trofeo Pirelli, young whippersnappers as I articulate them, young drivers that are really now enjoying the fact that the Ferrari Challenge is a springboard potentially to a brilliant career in the upper echelons, if you like, of racing. There are so many examples of drivers that have come through the Ferrari Challenge and gone on to elevate their careers still further, the likes of Alessandro Balzon, Daniel Mancinelli, and of course the top of the tree I have to mention is young Niklas Nielsen, who I first started talking about really rather irritatingly because it reinforces how old I am, and he's in karting. And now, by Jiminy, through the Ferrari Challenge, he has become one of the official hypercar drivers for Ferrari. Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Niklas Nielsen winning the Ferrari Finale Mondiali race here in Mugello, and it was the pinnacle of an amazing season that he put on track. And not only him, but we've seen other drivers, male and female, Dorian Pin,
yes.
Michel Gatting, really leaving their mark on the Ferrari Challenge and going on to be very successful in motorsport overall, both with Ferrari and in single-seaters,
yes.
as well, as we can see there on the left-hand side, as Murat is on a flying lap. There is the Shark, the 177, distinctive shark's teeth, back in the Ferrari Challenge as in the 20th year. 2
decades of racing in the Ferrari Challenge for von Skelterman in as Nico so rightly says, the shark's teeth front-end car. We are seeing a number of lap times deleted around turn number 4, which, forgive me if I pronounce it incorrectly, which I'm given to understand is the Matarazzo turn. Turn number 4, we go into the chicane after you've climbed uphill from the start of the lap. That's where we're seeing a number of lap times deleted. And basically what happens in qualifying, to make it clear, is that unlike in the race, where the race direction may give you some warnings with regards to lap times, in qualifying, you're set a really hot lap, but you've done so by exceeding the track limits. That lap time actually gets taken away from you. So all the great efforts you made, and also the investment in rubber, if I may be so bold, will be taken away from you. Because that lap time will be deleted, and you've got to go and do it all over again. Pierluigi Alessandri, who's been at the top of the chart now, Nico, for certainly 12 of the 16 minutes that we've had, as we take a look here at the 132. Just kicking up a bit of gravel there, which makes visibility, if anyone was right behind, really rather tricky. And car getting a little bit unsettled going into that car, into that corner. Tibor Valent is pushing really hard. So I was saying then, let me close the story that I had started with. Pierluigi Alessandri then top of the charts with a 152.234, where he's been for pretty much the entire session. Second fastest is Willem van der Vorm with a 155.9. Then it's Thomas Loflad, another returning driver. Well done, Thomas. Great to see you back. Then it is this man, Tibor Valent, the Ferrari Budapest Rosso Corsa driver that we're watching right now, who is on an improvement. So if he can keep it within the white lines, although I am seeing that his track limits at turn 4 did exceed, and therefore this lap time that he's working so hard at will be potentially deleted. So we will see. I think it relates to this lap that he's on at the moment, so even though we're counting down the lap as he comes across Motohiko Isesaki, and Tibor flashes his lights to make him aware of the fact that he's coming through then as he reaches the closing stages of this lap. Brilliant driving there from Motohiko Isesaki. Was aware of the fact that Tibor was on a hot lap, got completely out of his way. I mean, you can't make your car disappear. It's going to stay on the track, but you try not to hamper the efforts of someone who is on a hot lap. Tibor Valent for Ferrari Budapest and Rosso Corsa, who's currently P4 in class. Now, this could be a really good effort, but it could be an effort that counts for naught if indeed the lap time deletion around turn 4 was appropriated to this particular lap. He does go to the top of the timing screen momentarily with a 149.378. Let's see if it stays there. And I just hope, with my fingers crossed, that the lap time deletion was for an earlier air incursion. I think it was, because he stays there. Here comes the 151 car of Alexander Nussbaumer. Sorry, the 136 car of Alexander Nussbaumer. The car we're looking at is the John Dillon car, the Grey Paul Nottingham driver. John Dillon, then another returning driver to the Ferrari Challenge. He was out competing just a couple of weekends ago at the iconic Brands Hatch circuit in the UK, where he took podiums and richly deserved as well. So John Dillon making his way around the track. Final words of advice being offered here, as you can see, between driver and driver coach before getting the session underway. Tibor Valent from Manuela Gosner now, who's gone second fastest. Then it's Andreas Rizzi, who's P3. Pierluigi Alessandri is P4. There is Fabian Volvent, who we were waxing lyrical about just a few moments ago, coaching Tommy Lindroth. And Tommy Lindroth is currently sitting, where is Tommy? Is second fastest within class. Manu Gosner then, driving for a brand new team this year, the Reparto Corsa Ram team by Nico, headed up by her partner, Giorgio Senagiotto. And Manu Gosner is always there or thereabouts, a feisty young lady and a great racing driver. And I have to say, the creative treatment on the 296 that the team and her have designed, and she takes a personal interest in how the car looks, and done a pretty good job, if I may be honest with you, Nico Spalling.
Yeah, absolutely. And she is very curiously and extraordinarily the lone representative of the Gosner family, who generally comes out, and I mean that in the best possible sense, in force, or in droves, or certainly in multitude. On this occasion, because most of her family have other commitments, that means that she's the lone representative, and I mean, she's always going to look to get the best result possible. She's going to try and make it count double this time, and talking about double, P2 is where she currently sits, having bested Henry Hassid and moved up to P2 alongside Tibor Valent.
There is Giorgio Senecchiotto speaking to Manu on the team radio, his team boss, but he also acts as team coach, driver coach, I should say, to Manu Gosner. They have a great partnership in so many ways, and it works and pays dividends as we look at the 219 car in the pit lane, as you can see. Yet to actually really post a meaningful time. That's Ivan David Mari, who's about to make his way out on track. So it's Valin from Gosner, from Henry Hassid, another returning driver. Then it's from Skeltermar. I've missed out Thomas Loflad. Thomas, forgive me, P3 for Thomas Loflad. Staying with Manu Gosner, though, who is improving. There, we split the screen so that you can see driver coach, who's not uttering too many words because Manuela is doing a good job at the moment, so be quiet, Giorgio. She doesn't need any encouragement. Leave me alone. I think Giorgio was listening to us. As Manu then continues on her way. It's another improvement. She's taken a half a second out here. This could be a very, very good lap. Tibor Valint with a 1:49.378. Only two drivers in the 1:49s. That's Tibor Valint and this young lady, Manuela Gosner, who's got traffic ahead of her. Is that going to hamper her efforts? Well, she dispatched that car pretty well. Going into the final turn now. Rounds that final turn, gets a perfect exit, keep it within the white lines, head towards breaking the timing beam. Is this going to go from P2 to P1? No. I really built that. I built that. And do you know what? Just having another car around that final turn was possibly enough for Manu to lose them. We're talking about 1/100th.
Yeah.
That's how close it is.
12 1,000. Yes, that she got around the other car fairly easily, but you know, 12 1,000 is less than a blink of an eye. So yeah, that may have been the difference. But in any event, she secures or reinforces her position in P2 because he's more than a second up quicker on Thomas Loflad. And
Murat is pushing. Murat Kuadaroglu is pushing. And he has got the 269 car ahead of him. And that is the Fabrizio Fontana car. So Murat trying to find a way past the 488. So we've got the 296. Here comes Murat Kuadaroglu then around the outside going into the final turn. He's going to have to do it all over again. Murat, who was at the top of the chart for quite some time of this qualifying session, is currently sitting in P8. And where's the time gone? Because we only have 6.5 minutes, as near as makes no difference, of this qualifying session remaining.
Yeah. And let's have a look at our timing screen. Drivers who are maybe a little bit out of position. Motohiko Isozaki, our AM champion from last year, only down in P23 overall, and that's P16 within class. So we expect him to improve, and he is on a trajectory to improve. But his last lap time was disallowed. It would have been good enough for around P9 or P10, so he will have to do it all over again. As you can see, traffic is increasing and is heating up, and Manu Gosner is not on a flying lap anymore, it seems. But she will probably have another go after this. Yeah, she lost 4 or 5 seconds on the final sector, and that was just down to traffic. It seems.
Now, the thing is, we're listening to Giorgio there. The thing is, here, we get the scenario, Nico, where it's risk-reward because you have to think about tyre wear as well. You've got a 30-minute plus 1 lap race to come this afternoon. The tyres that you qualify on, the tyres you're going to race on. So, do you take more out of your tyres to get you further up the order, or do you bank the rubber that you've got, hoping that you can do some overtaking in the race? It's not an easy question as we look at Pino Frascaro. And Pino then being advised by his driver coach. Where is he in terms of the 488 qualifying? P4, I think, for Pino Frascaro, driving for Rosso Corsa. And here we can see the car of James Weiland. James, of course, is coached by Conrad Grunewald. Conrad himself a very, very successful driver, and James has talent running through the family. His son Max is a great kart racer as well, and undoubtedly a Ferrari Challenge competitor of the future, I'm sure. And James Weiland's one of those drivers, Nico, that you can never bet against. loves racing in Europe. He's American, but loves coming to Europe to race. And he's also raced in Japan and Asia as well. And he goes 6th fastest on his, what I think was probably one of his first timed laps. So James deciding to leave it until the final knockings, if you will, of this Ferrari challenge. Coppa Shell and 488 qualifying. Now here is Alexander Nussbaumer. And Alexander Nussbaumer is another one of those drivers, Nico, that you discount at your peril. He's a very, very good driver, and when he's got it all tidy across every sector, then he is one to watch out for. I know you're picking up on some of the purples on the timing screen now in terms of sectors. Who's going quickly? Is it this man?
It is this man, Alexander Nussbaumer. Fastest through the first 2 sectors, 2 personal bests, but combined that is quicker than anybody else. A 10th and a half up or down, depending on how you look at it. Quicker in any event through 2 sectors, takes the final turn. Don't go out too wide, but early on the throttle, the drivers have told us you can do that with this car. It is so stable on the exit of the turns, and it results in P1. Well done, guys, in the OB van, picking up on that. And thanks for giving us this great shot. Alexander Nussbaumer takes pole position provisionally for the time being. 3 minutes and change remaining.
7/100ths the margin between Alexander Nussbaumer and Thibaut Valiant. That's how close it is and how competitive it is in the Ferrari Challenge. We see Babalus there, driver coach, just getting his driver out of the car. Here comes the 151 car of John Dillon. John is currently P6. It would be a 3rd row start if everything stayed this way. Is John on an improvement trajectory? The color bars on the sectors would not suggest so. So we'll see how John does here. The Grey Paul Nottingham driver, who's been an ever-present in the Ferrari Challenge, and in my opinion, one of the most improved drivers in the Ferrari Challenge. He's coached by Sean Doyle. And Sean is here. I was having a conversation with him just yesterday, and John feeling really, really good. Here comes the menacing shark's teeth of von Skeltermar, who set personal bests across Sector 1 and Sector 2. It's currently a provisional 5th row start for von Skeltermar, but expect this to be a potential improvement from the car that sports the 177 number. Long-time competitor with Kessel Racing, the team headed up by the eponymous Ronnie Kessel. And here comes von Skeltermar to break the timing beam now. Does he improve? Indeed he does. By 5 places, Nico, up to P5 for von Skeltermar.
Very good, yeah. That elevates him to row 3. And that means for the moment, with 90 seconds remaining, Alexander Nussbaumer still P1. And he has extended his lead to 2.5 tenths and almost beaten the 149 barrier. Behind him, or alongside him rather, on the grid, Thibaut Valiant, then Manu Gosner, Henry Anseed, von Skeltermar, Thomas Loflat, John Dillon, and Andreas Rizzi, James Warland, and Pierluigi Alessandri, who led the standings for a long way. In the 488, it's Fontana, Kinch, Lindroth, and Frascaro for the first 4. But it's not over yet. There is Motohiko Isozaki, last year's AM champion. 105 car, distinct green metallic livery, going through the turns here in the final sector. Can he improve from his P11 spot? There is still a chance. He's got 1.2 seconds down from the best time after 2 sectors, but that still could be an improvement, Dave.
It could be an improvement, and he's going to be able to go again because he's going to cross the timing line with around about 26 seconds remaining, make it 28 seconds, 7.65. I was right the first time. Shut up, Dave. He can go again and put another lap in, because if you cross the timing line with any time remaining on the clock, then that lap will count. Once it counts down to 0, any driver that crosses the timing line, then, well, you've had it. But if you're on a lap, it can still count. So Motohiko Isozaki is going to go again. Alexander Nussbaumer, he's bailed this lap. Therefore, he's effectively bailed the lap for every driver behind him as well. And they include Manuela Gosner, who you could see there. The checkered flag is out. So the order at the moment is Nussbaumer, Valiant, Gosner, Hasid, Skeltermar, Loflat, Dillon, and Rizzi, the top 8 in the Shell drivers. For the 488 drivers, it's Fontana, Kinch, and Lindroth, and Frascaro, and Alexei Komarov. Scuderia Prague Racing is fifth fastest in the 488. But any driver out there showing purple that's still out on track? I don't think so, Nico.
No, not quite. There are still a few on a potential improvement, James Wyland being one of them. Ray Acosta also still potentially with a chance to improve. Motohiko Isozaki is trying, but I think his second sector wasn't quite good enough, so I think don't see pole position being in jeopardy. Maybe some minor improvement in the middle of the pack, but the pole position certainly belongs to the man that we have sent to shot, the 136 car of Alexander Nussbaumer. Well done.
His car being sent to the scrutineering garage straight away. So well done to Alexander Nussbaumer, and well done, we should say, to Fabrizio Fontana for Formula Racing in the 488 as well, who's pole position within that 488 category. So checkers are out, and Motohiko Isozaki is still out on track, and I think so too is Murat Kuhadaroglu, but neither of them are setting purple times. So we are as good as done, where the front row for our 296 Coppa Shell is going to be Alexander Nussbaumer and Tibor Valent. And the front row for our 488 drivers is going to be Fabrizio Fontana and Christian Kinch. Christian can be a danger man from there. There is Motohiko Isozaki. There is the 122 car, which I have to say looks great in the red and yellow livery, the Andreas Rizzi car. And there, a great shot of the steering wheel in these 296 challenge cars. And I was talking just yesterday to Timo Glock, who said, you know what, Dave, of all the racing cars that I've driven, all the racing series I've been involved in, there's something very, very special about seeing the prancing horse on your steering wheel in front of you. And that comes from Timo Glock.
Yeah, well, definitely. And the man who used that steering wheel to perfection in this class of identical 296 challenge cars, plus the 488 Challenge Evo cars, not to forget those, but the quickest man overall, Alexander Nussbaumer. Just to give you a comparison in terms of quickest lap times, it's a 1:49.0 versus a 1:54.1 between the 296 and the 488 Challenge Evo.
Here comes confirmation of the results from qualifying then. Alexander Nussbaumer, P1, Tibor Valent, P2. Then it's Manuel Agosner, Henry Hassid, von Skeltermar, Thomas Loflad, John Dillon, and Andreas Rizzi. They make up the first four rows of the grid to come this afternoon. Then it was James Wyland, arguably out of position. So too, perhaps, Motohiko Isozaki. Then it is Pierluigi Alessandro ahead of Murat Kuhadaroglu, Christoph Herney, Willem van der Vorm, Ray Acosta, and then it's Ken Abe and Michael Martin. They're not setting a time. That's the Coppa Shell qualifying, and the 488 qualifying. It's Fabrizio Fontana who is P1. Here it is, confirmation of that with Christian Kinch going from P2 and Tommy Lindroth from P3. What a first couple of rows with Pino Frascaro, P4. Then it's Alexei Komarov, Vincenzo Gabino, then Germano Salernitano, Ivan David Mari then, and Germano then, both of those drivers not setting a time.
Well, that was qualifying one, Coppa Shell and the 488 Challenge Evo classes. We will continue with qualifying for Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am in about 20 minutes or so. So I think a good cup of coffee or tea in your case is in order, and then we get some more action of the 296 Challenge and the Ferrari Challenge 2024 in Europe.
What a season in prospect. Share your passion, Ferrari races. Thank you so much for watching qualifying from Nico and from myself. Thank you, and we'll see you for the next qualifying session to come in around about 30 minutes time. Bye-bye for now.
cose di WhatsApp, ma infatti io cercavo ora, ho chiamato sbagliando un WhatsApp, se no volevo chiamare di più. Il colore in testa, Fabiano, io volevo chiamare
Televisione o YouTube?
No, televisione.
Su che canale?
Canale Ferrari.
Ma quello è da Sky?
Sì.
Quello è danno Sky e lascio
Sì.
Sport?
Hello everyone and welcome to Mugello. Here we are then for qualifying for our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, the first round of the season for 2024. We have much to look forward to during this season with a phenomenal calendar which kicks off here in Tuscany in Italy. And then we go over to Balaton in Hungary, ahead of Jerez in Spain. And this is where we are right now then for our first one. From Jerez, we end up going to Portugal, as you can see, with the Portimao circuit, just a couple of days before my birthday. Just thought I'd mention that. Then it's Le Castellet and the Nürburgring. That's the way it looks for our calendar for 2024. So the calendar is something very much to look forward to, as is the fact that our Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers will be driving an awesome brand new car for 2024. Weather conditions here in Mugello, track temperature 25 degrees, the air temperature is 17, 60% humidity and absolutely no wind whatsoever. That's the way it looks. And so the conditions set fair for our drivers to take to the track, and we have some 25 of those drivers who will take to this 5.245 kilometer circuit that rolls through the Tuscan countryside, as does my colleague Nico Spalek, who is with us this morning. And as we take a look at the drivers who are just sussing things out before jumping into their cars and ready to go out and get their qualifying session underway. Nico, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, not rolling through the countryside, but alongside you here in the studio, getting ready for Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am. That's the way. Qualifying number one of the season. We already had the Coppa Shell and the remaining 488 Challenge Evo cars on track, but a few minutes ago there is the Luca Ludwig car. In the pit lane, there is the number 26 car of James Owen. Indeed, very nice livery.
James sporting a new livery for this year. A welcome returnee to the Ferrari Challenge for James Owen. And here we can see the car of Max Mugello. Max, who on a track day in the closed season, actually gave the opportunity to a friend of mine, Thomas Herzog, to be out in a car, which was thoroughly enjoyed by said recipient. So well done to Max Mugello. Right, the number 8 car of Luca Ludwig, driving for Mertel Motorsport, who, of course, the team that used to look after the resident of the track in Germany at Norris Ring, and that resident is sadly not racing this year, but is very much missed. And yeah, we look forward to seeing him back in a racing car very soon, as we look at Hanno Laskowski. Looking very pensive, I have to say. Very focused and concentrated before jumping into the car. There's Benz Valiant and Tibor Valiant, who was out in the qualifying session just a few moments ago, was going very well, and well, we expect the same from young Bentz, who is one of the young whippersnapper talented drivers. There is Matthias Thoman, also driving for Mertel Motorsport. I was waxing lyrical about Martinus Richter. Martinus, if you're watching qualifying, as I'm sure you are, resident in Nuremberg in Germany, we miss you, friend. And right, we get the pit lane open and the green flag on, and the first driver to show is going to be David Akobadzi, who drives for the Scuderia Monte Carlo team. It's a resplendent livery, if I may say so, and look at the eager fans who want to get photographs of these remarkable Ferrari Challenge 296 cars as they take to the track for their first really competitive session of what seems to have been quite a long week already, because we've had test sessions here. And now it's everything that counts as the cars get out, including Matthias Thoman, as the cars get out then for the first real test, and that is to put a time on the board. There is Timo Glock. Expect him to be in the upper parts of the timing to come from our qualifying. I had a lot of time with Timo yesterday, who I'm thrilled to say I've known for a number of years, and I think I can go so far as to say that we're pretty good friends, and I've talked about him in broadcast across a lot of his racing career, and Timo is very much a racing driver like me in terms of a broadcaster, in that it's very, very full on, and Timo is a huge character, and is a very welcome addition to the Ferrari Challenge. Here we can see then some of the first actions are as on cold tyres, Matthias Thomann finds the barriers. And that just proves that you need to get those tyres warmed up well. So Matthias Thomann, I rather think this may cause an interruption to our qualifying session, because the car is now properly beached in the gravel, and as he uses the loud pedal to try and dig himself out, actually all you do is beach yourself still further in the gravel. So while we look at some of the other drivers then, including Otto Blank, who's about to take to the track, or really rather not probably now, because we have a beached car out there. Otto Blank can probably take a few more moments of preparation. In the background, you can see the number 26 car of James Owen then, the Meridian Modena driver with Engstler Motorsport. And this car is the number 17 car of Timo Glock for Autohaus Gelrick. Right now, this is an interesting livery, Nico. One that I spotted in my driving around, walking around the paddock. Herbert Gies, who is driver coached by Harald Prochik, himself a hugely successful driver, and another out of the Timo Glock book of characters is Harald, and had a good time with them yesterday, and expecting good things from Herbert then as he gets his qualifying session underway. Thankfully, the Matthias Thomann car being in the gravel has obviously been recovered very, very quickly, because the qualifying session remains on and we are underway. So we're watching Herbert Gies, and we do have a yellow flag at turn number 2, which is where that car came out. So that yellow flag has now come out. So they are obviously hoping to be able to recover that car. Ferrari 296 is the all-new car in this truly wonderful Ferrari Challenge Series, and the Maranello Motors driver Herbert Gies is driving this number 11 car, and is at the moment, albeit there's only been a couple of drivers out on track, he is the quickest of them. And the Maranello Motors car then rounding the turns here. There are 14 turns on this Mugello circuit, 6 of them left and 8 of them are right-handers. 3 turns in sector 1, 6 turns in the technical sector 2, 5 in sector 3. That's the way it looks. And the Trofeo Pirelli Am driver Herbert Gies then, we can see heading towards the final turn right now, this long sweeping final turn where you run downhill before climbing uphill once again and heading towards the timing line. Pirelli Am drivers have the white strip across the top of the windscreen. Pirelli drivers have the red strip across the top of the windscreen. That's the way it looks, and we get a first meaningful time from Herbert, and it was in the 156s. Expect the times to come tumbling down across the course of the 25 minutes that remain in this qualifying session. Drivers hurrying themselves in the pit lane now, including Andreas Berg Sorensen, who's just about to get into his car. And 6-cylinder cars, the 296s, they sound utterly awesome. I have to be honest with you. Gianmarco Marzialetti for Radici Automobili, Best Lap FCI. That's the team that run the Gianmarco car. David Acabazzi has posted a time, the Scuderia Monte Carlo driver. He's posted a time of 2:17.949. That's really not meaningful. We, as you can see from Gianmarco then, who has taken some 16 seconds out of it across sectors 1 and sector 2, proving that the times, as I mentioned, would come tumbling down over the course of the 24 minutes that remain in our Trofeo Pirelli qualifying session here, which will set the grid for the Trofeo Pirelli first race of 2024. to come a little bit later on today. Very welcome, glad you're there and enjoying the Ferrari Challenge qualifying session that we're able to bring you across the next 24 minutes or so, with a brilliant mix of young, talented drivers and more senior talented drivers as well, as Gianmarco Marzioletti goes quickest, which is no surprise, with a 1:57.681. And that does at least give us a benchmark time. This is the number 91 car. Where do you put the driver? Is he a young whippersnapper? Is he more senior? Well, however you describe him, he is very, very successful. That was Philippe Barron. This is Jean-Luc Daria, who is certainly in the young whippersnapper department, if you will, driving for the first time in the Ferrari Challenge, and he's very welcome as we see Timo just final stages of his preparation. Jean-Luc Daria then driving for the Emil Frey Racing organization, which is very, very successful racing team, that's for sure, Nico, and very successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Just last week in Oschersleben in the DTM, they took the win in the opening race, with Atkin taking the win for the Emil Frey Racing team and the Ferrari customer racing program in GT3s. And talking about GT3s, we've talked to so many drivers who say the 296 Challenge is so close to a GT3 car. It feels so remarkable and such a step up from the 488 Challenge, even, which was already a very good car, but we just saw in the previous qualifying sessions, it is 5 seconds a lap quicker on this circuit.
If I may take issue with you, it was beyond a very good car. It was a huge winning car.
Fair enough.
Yeah, a huge winning car. And as I've said more than once, you just think and this is what's remarkable about Ferrari, and you're right to mention the fact that, you know, so many drivers using the Ferrari Challenge now, young talented drivers as a springboard to further GT3 racing or beyond, it has to be said. But the magic for me is the fact that, you know, they have a hugely successful car like the 488. How do you get something better than that? Well, actually, Maranello are able to do that, and there's 296. And, you know, I had the benefit of being in the Circuit of the Americas just last weekend, where the North American region of the Ferrari Challenge got underway, again, like here in Europe, with a huge grid of cars. And genuinely, Nico, I can tell you that every driver is jumping out of this car with a Cheshire Cat-style smile, because the car is just an absolute joy to drive. Many, many innovations. One that's talked about a lot is the brake-by-wire, which is, in fairness, you have to get used to it, I'm told, but once you've got used to it, the car is just so rewarding and forgiving, and you can really, really push. And we're seeing that in the times that are being posted. As you say, in comparison to the 488s, which of course this weekend we still see in action as well. There are a number of drivers that are racing with our Coppa Shell drivers in what's now the old 488 car, but we're in with the new right now and looking at the number 12 car of Gianmarco Marzioletti, who is second fastest with a time of 1:54.424. However, he has improved across Sector 1 and Sector 2, has Herbert Gies, who is P1 at the moment. So it's going to be a bit of a battle between these two Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give you a reference, in Coppa Shell, the pole time was just above the 1:49 mark. So we're still a few seconds away from that. We expect the track to have not slowed down with additional rubber laid down, with additional temperature, with the sun out. So we expect the times, certainly with the Pirelli drivers, to be easily in the 1:48, possibly beneath, which, you know, is another great step up, down. It's certainly an improvement from where we were previously.
Q, Andrea Levy then about to put his hands device and crash helmet on. No, he's posing for further press photographs, which is absolutely fine. You're talking about the Pirelli drivers. We've not seen one of them out on track yet, and the first 11 minutes of this qualifying session are done.
Yeah.
Interesting, they're leaving it late in the day. There is Harold Prochik, who I was mentioning just a few moments ago, talking to his driver Herbert Gies, who with the 1:53.185 is some 6 1/4 tenths down on the fastest time thus far for the Pirelli Am drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've seen this time and time again, and that obviously when the drivers expect the track to evolve and get quicker towards the end, that they rather leave it late. Interestingly, this week and also at Kota last week, it hasn't been a lot of dry running recently because it's been very wet on this Mugello circuit for basically the entire week. So one might think that the drivers would try and maximize dry track time, but you know, tire management absolutely is a crucial part, and we have a red flag as we interrupt this thought, and with 18.5 minutes remaining, we have a red flag. And
why?
On the graphics, maybe Matthias Thoman, who is stopped on track, but certainly all the drivers who are currently out coming in.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, that is not a replay of. There you can see. Where is that car coming from? Actually, there is a shortcut around this track. And, oh, yeah, in the braking zone.
And that is one of the prettiest cars. It's the car of Ruslan Sadrev. And he's in the gravel now. Thankfully, he's not made any contact with any barriers. So for reasons of safety, that's why the session is suspended, Nico, with the red flag, just to allow that Ruslan car to be recovered. And then we will get going again. So not going to be many moments of interruption, I suspect.
No, and that's generally what we do in qualifying, because in a race you might get away with a yellow flag, but in qualifying, where you try to set the fastest possible lap time, if you've got yellow flags in a corner, that kind of eliminates any chance of improvement.
Of course.
Early on in the session, they let it go because the cars were not on quick laps and they were just warming up the tires. So in that scenario, I think Claudio Garavini, our race director, probably said, well, you know, we're not really hurting lap times. We can recover the car without throwing out the red flag. Now we're in a very different situation of the session, and we have to give the drivers the ability to really qualify.
Wily old fox that he is. Philippe Baron has anticipated this well and is right at the start of the queue for those cars that will be going out on track once the session resumes. Former multi-champion in the Ferrari Challenge, team boss, and returns to being a driver for the 2024 season. Philippe Baron. Let's take a look at some of the cars that have been out in qualifying so far, including this number 12 car, which is right at the top of the chart at the moment. Gianmarco Marzioletti. Currently P3, it's David Akobadze for Scuderia Monte Carlo in the number 23 296 Challenge. And this is going to be one of the most photographed cars for 2024. Herbert Gies for Maranello Motors with the number 11. Gianmarco Marzioletti is the car that we're looking at now. Gianmarco is coached by Babalus, who is another fine racing driver with huge success in the Ferrari Challenge and now prefers to support other drivers. This is Otto Blank driving for Lueg Sportivo and Herta Racing. We see the number 5 car right now, which is Laura Villas for Zenith Scuderia, a hugely talented driver using the Ferrari Challenge. Right, we can now inform you that the session is going to restart in exactly 57 seconds from now at 10:16. As we look at the number 5 car of Laura once again, had the opportunity to speak to her yesterday and a very enjoyable conversation we had. Number 71 car is driven by Otto Blank, who I mentioned, one of the Pirelli Am drivers. The Pirelli Am drivers all run the white strip across the top of the windscreen. The Pirelli drivers, like this young man, Philippe Baron, wear the red strip, where you can see the Adler windshield at the top. If it's red, it's a Pirelli driver. If it's white, it's a Pirelli Am driver. This is a beautiful looking car from Hendrik Viol for Scuderia Prague Racing. And right, we are going green once again. Philip Barron right at the head of the queue. He's being followed out on track by a whole train of these wonderful 296 cars then. So we get this session back underway. So for a couple of laps, the drivers will use the opportunity just to bring everything up to speed. And then they will be focusing on posting the best lap that they possibly can. Best time that we've seen thus far in qualifying came from Gianmarco Marzioletti, a 1:52.562.
Absolutely, and now with everybody being released, and as you said, Philip Barron, leader of the queue, he's got lots of tarmac ahead of him, is weaving to get the tires up to temperature as quickly as possible. And then once he comes around and he has the hopefully then still empty track ahead of him, he will have a chance to put in his first banker, because right now that is still something he needs to check off. Currently no time on the board for him, but equally for the vast majority of the drivers who are out there or still in the pit lane, they haven't set a meaningful time. And that means with 17 minutes and only a few seconds, we're coming very, very quickly towards the decisive part of this session.
Philip Barron is weaving from side to side. I was just thinking about this. I wonder how many laps he's driven here at Mugello over the years, Philip Barron. Quite a few, I would suggest. He'll know this track inside out. He'll know where he can push it to the absolute limit in terms of track limits to try and shortcut as many turns as he possibly can. Slowing down now before really piling the power on and going for a hot lap. He's obviously happy with the temperature that he's generated into the tires. He goes through the final chicane, still weaving from side to side. The weaving actually doesn't really generate too much temperature. I'm told by racing drivers it's the deft use of the braking system so that the heat generated by the brakes dissipates through the rims and onto the tires. And here comes Philip Barron, and this is going to be his first really timed lap. And let's see if Philip Barron is able to propel himself to the highest orders of the qualifying. You certainly wouldn't bet against it. This is the Maranello Motors driver Herbert Gies then, who is currently P2 in this qualifying session. That time was set just before the session got suspended. And we run the clock on Herbert, the Maranello Motors driver. He is one of our Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers. The mix of Trofeo Pirelli drivers with the AMs and the red striped Pirelli drivers out there on track. And you can see that dependent upon where you are on the track, you could get traffic. And with the 15.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, trying to find clear track space out there on track is going to become something of a premium ask. So the number 4 car, you can see there, is Andrew. Number 4 is driven by Andrew Morrow, who is driving for Charles Hurst. Andrew Morrow, champion last year in the UK, elevates to the UK. The European challenge this year. Very much looking forward to it. Andrew, coached by another very, very successful driver. We'll come to it in just a moment because we can take a look at Philip Barron, who's purple in Sector 1 and purple in Sector 2. Because Johnny Kane is Andrew Morrow's driver coach. But forgive me, I needed to look at this car as it rounds the final turn now. See what I mean about using all the track, millimetrically perfect around the final turn. Here comes Philip Barron, and I predict to the top of the chart. I wasn't wrong with a 149.146. He's lost none of the talent since becoming a suit-wearing manager. 149.146 for Philip Barron.
Not that often that we see him in a suit in the paddock, to be fair. He's still very much hands-on, and we've described him as a stern headmaster in the past when he has propelled Ernst Kirchmeier and many other drivers under his tutelage to great success in championships, and now he is back in the seat trying to get another trophy in the case for himself, and not only on this weekend but overall certainly as well. And quick again through sector 1 on the next lap, half a second quicker than his previous best time, which effectively almost matched the pole time from Coppa Shell. So he is now going about it of setting the new absolute best sector and qualifying time ever in the Ferrari Challenge, probably on this Mugello circuit. A new record lap in store for Philippe Barron as he is rounding the turn, now coming towards the end of the second sector, and another purple sector.
He was over a second quicker. I mean, you talk about drivers taking time out of lap times. Philippe Barron is absolutely slaughtering this lap time at the moment. If he's able to hold it all together, which I have no doubt he will, he's got traffic ahead of him, but that won't have usurped his focus. Here comes Philippe Barron then, running downhill now through the final turn. Once again, absolutely pitches the car perfectly out of the final turn. Heads to break the timing beam with a new fastest time, and a 1.190 second improvement puts him into the 147s, Nico. A 147.956. Now, this is going to be interesting. Here comes Laura Villas then for Zenith Scuderia, who's also gone purple in Sector 1 and Sector 2. He's currently second fastest overall. No, sorry, within class. Third fastest overall. She is driving in the Pirelli Am class. Rounding this final turn then. So purple Sector 1, purple Sector 2. Avoids the traffic again, just like Philippe Barron, perfectly positions the car on the tarmac to the run to the timing screen and the timing beam. And just 5/10 down on the time set by Danilo Del Fabro, who is the quickest of our Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers. Philippe Barron, the quickest of our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. We are yet to see times from the likes of Luca Ludwig, Jean-Luc Daria, and Timo Glock. We're on board with Andrew Morrow right now. Andrew Morrow is a remarkable success story, Nico. Just a couple of years ago, hadn't raced anything other than the sack barrow around the garden. And he comes into the Ferrari Challenge UK, really makes his presence felt in Season 1, doubles that feeling of presence in Season 2 by winning the championship, and now he's racing here in Europe, up against very, very stiff competition, but he'll take that all in his stride. Andrew Morrow, a talented young driver. As I mentioned earlier in our broadcast, coached by Johnny Kane. Here comes another young whippersnapper from Ferrari Budapest and Rosso Corsa. This is Ben Svalint, who is third fastest, but his Sector 1 and Sector 2 are purple. You know what that means. If the sectors are colored purple, they're going quicker than anybody else. 10.5 minutes of this session remaining. We've got a yellow flag at turn number 11. Ben Svalint had passed that turn. We've got another red flag as Ben Svalint had taken 6 1/4 tenths out. Now, as I understand it, that won't count, Nico, because the red flag had come out before he'd completed the lap.
Yeah, I'm afraid so, even though the relevant spot he passed, but the moment the red flag is out, none of what happens on track counts.
It's Laura.
And there is Laura Villars, our Shell Am driver. Pirelli Am driver, apologies, and she is in the gravel, and yeah.
And that is that's just you're on a knife edge, Nico. You're pushing as hard as you can, and you know, just unfortunately for Laura, it just pushed a little bit too hard, and she wasn't able to hold on to it, so the car is in the gravel. It'll be quickly recovered, and we will get back to qualifying very quickly. So for the moment, for the Pirelli drivers, Philippe Barron leads the way ahead of Max Mugello and Ben Svalint. We are yet to see times, as I mentioned, from the likes of Luca Ludwig, Jean-Luc Daria, Timo Glock, and also the man that won the Trofeo Pirelli Am Championship last year. Certainly cannot be called a young whippersnapper, and that is Franz Engstler, who will be racing in Pirelli this year. Franz, of course, how many wins Franz Engstler has had in what has been a glittering motor racing career. Franz Engstler going to be very interesting to see how he performs in Trofeo Pirelli. So great to have this onboard camera as we ride into the pit lane here and line up in the queue of cars ready to get back out there as soon as the session resumes. I don't think it's going to be a long stoppage. Just recover the Laura Villar's car. Here's some of the highlights we've seen from qualifying in Trofeo Pirelli thus far. So some images of the cars around this track while we have this red flag. Suspension to our session. When it comes to the Trofeo Pirelli race this afternoon, delighted to be able to announce that incidentally, the qualifying session is going to get underway in just 20 seconds from now. But during the Trofeo Pirelli race this afternoon, going to be joined by Oliver Behrman, who he and I were in conversation last night. You cannot not recall his Formula One debut in Jeddah. And he'll be with us on the air this afternoon. Charming young man who lives just a few minutes down the road from where I do in the UK as well. And delighted that Ollie has agreed to join us on the air. You can catch him live this afternoon on our Trofeo Pirelli program as we bring you the Ferrari Challenge for 2024. So we get the green flag right now. In around about 40 seconds time, and we will go back to our qualifying session. And there are a number of drivers yet to post a time, and they're going to have a limited time to be able to do that. They include Franz Engstler, Luca Ludwig, Kim Eriksson, Jean-Luc Daria, Timo Glock, Matthias Thoman, Ruslan Sadriv, and also Klaus Sibranson. So the track is going to be at a premium in terms of finding tarmac, and at a premium for Ben Svalint, who's also further down the order than he would like to be, and Max Mugello as well. Here we can see some of the drivers lining up. There is the number 10 car of Kim Eriksson, the Formula Racing Trofeo Pirelli Am driver. Parked up right behind is Andreas Berg Sorensen. I know, Nico, that the livery on the Andreas Berg Sorensen 296 is one that is particularly to your liking.
Yeah, definitely. But, you know, there are so many great liveries, from the very simplistic red that Philip Barron, for example, sports, to the very creative in terms of color patterns. And we obviously already saw the livery of Herbert Geiss, and which is kind of a little more Joker style, if you will. So
yes,
there is so much creativity put onto these wonderful racing machines to make up very, very distinct and different liveries, and in many cases they're an extension of the character of the driver.
The drivers do take great pride, don't they, in terms of adding their personal touch to the livery of the cars. And as we've said on many occasions in the past, when your Ferrari Challenge car is effectively a blank canvas, the opportunity to make your mark of your personality on that car. Once upon a time in this wonderful Ferrari Challenge One Make Series, which has existed for 32 years, the majority of the cars would be red. That's not the case anymore.
No, that's not the case anymore. But even in the, dare I say, old days, and we've been now associated with almost half the history of the challenge.
Yes.
We've always seen the very iconic day glow colors at some point, obviously blue, yellow, green, white. But yes, the red and the yellow, if you just mark them down one by one, are probably still leaders in the clubhouse. But you know, it is a very, very good sign that there is creativity, not only in terms of racing lines, but also in terms of the lines that the drivers decide to put on their racing machines, because they are an extension of their character. And as they said, in talking about the new car, they stepped inside the 296 and it felt like an extension of their body. They feel so at one with the new, with their new race car.
This is like a race is going on here. Andreas Berg Sorensen trying to outbrake Andrew Morrow going into turn number 1. And he's done that. This isn't a race, in case you've just tuned in. And if you have, you're very welcome. We're live from the Mugello circuit. And we're watching qualifying for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli drivers, the mix of Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers. And 2 Pirelli Am drivers make that 3. Really going for it, hammer and tongs here. Andreas Berg Sorensen, Andrew Morrow, and Kim Eriksson. All 3 of them virtually welded together. Philip Barron leads this qualifying session with a 1:47.943. Very quietly, deft-like, going about his task, though, is Hendrik Viol, Nico, for Scuderia Prague, who's posted the best time for our Pirelli Am drivers, ahead of Danilo Del Favero. This is Andrew Morrow that we're looking at right now. And Andrew preferring the traditional red colours. Danilo Del Favero, interestingly, is in the pit lane, and as clearly he's satisfied with the time that he's set and doesn't think that taking more out of the tyres is necessarily going to buy him anything, and therefore is choosing to keep the rubber for a little bit later. We know now, Nico, that Timo Glock is out there on track. How's it looking for Timo?
Well, he is posting very, very good second times. The first one was purple, the second is personal best, so we expect him to elevate far up the order. That is the car with the number 17, whom we expect every moment to cross the timing line.
Oh, that's someone with slowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And ooh, that is, I think, is into the final turn, and that is Timo Glock, actually.
You know what he's doing? He's just lining it up, ready to go and set a very, very hot lap. Right. Gloves are off then. I mentioned just a few moments ago Franz Engsler, who's going to mix it up with the young whippersnappers. He has gone second fastest with a 1:48.974. And this is the number 8 car of Luca Ludwig, who again comes from good racing stock, of course, the Ludwig family. And Luca Ludwig, sector 1, purple, sector 2, purple. This is going to be a fight to the finish over the remaining 5 3/4 minutes of this Ferrari challenge. Trofeo Pirelli qualifying. Here comes the Mertel Motorsport driver, Luca Ludwig, right now. Target time, a 1:47.943. What can Luca Ludwig do as he breaks the timing beam? He can take 6.5 tenths out of it and goes P1 with a 1:47.290. Luca Ludwig, for the moment, it's provisional pole position, but there are other drivers out there that are going to want to take that away from him, including the likes of Jean-Luc Daria and Benz Valiant and Timo Glock. And here is the number 17 car of which we were talking, the Auto House Ulrich driver, Timo Glock. Sector 1, purple. So Timo Glock is on a good trajectory here. He's taken 7/100ths out of the cumulative time so far, Nico.
Yeah, but you can see how close that is. So he will need a clear final sector, and that means no traffic ideally. He is going through the final chicane, and now onto that short back straight behind the main grandstand, overlooking the pit lane, and now dives into that final turn. There are a number of lines which are quick through that. He decides to go on a wider one that will give him a lot of momentum coming out of the turn. He is heading towards the timing line, a 1:47.290, a 1:47.199, and that means P1, Luca Ludwig, and it comes quick and fast. He is approaching those final few turns, Dave.
Yes, he is, and he's looking quick as well. So momentarily, Timo Glock goes to the top of the chart. I should mention that Timo Glock will be joining us live on the air this afternoon as well. But Luca Ludwig wants to wrestle that P1 time provisional away from Timo Glock, and he's on a good place and in a good place to do so as he heads towards breaking the timing beam. We ride on board with Luca Ludwig for Mertel Motorsport. Here is the beam then, and what has he done? Well, he has, oh, I wonder if that time has been disallowed actually, because he's not vaulted to the top of the screen.
I think I didn't quite catch it. I thought it was just marginally 6/100ths slower.
Well, perhaps you're right. Perhaps I read it incorrectly, but it is Timo Glock from Luca Ludwig from Philippe Baron at the moment, and diving out of the car, and clearly feels he's done enough is Gianmarco Mazzioletti. Car number 89, track limits issue at turn number 4. So track limits continuing to be an issue for some drivers, particularly around turn number 4. That's going into the first chicane on the lap. The order is Timo Glock from Luca Ludwig and Philippe Baron. Jean-Luc Daria, lowly P6 within class, but P21 overall. And there you can see the Andrea Levy crash helmet. Here comes Luca Ludwig, who's trying for still further improvement, although I think he's bailed this lap. Maybe not. Just doesn't look. No, he has. He's some six seconds down. So Luca Ludwig is not on an improvement trajectory. We've only got 2 minutes of the session remaining. So Timo Glock at the moment is a P1. I can't see any other purple numbers on our timing screen, which suggests that with 2 minutes remaining, unless someone's going to come in with a late dash right at the end, it stays with a 1:47.199. We've got 3 drivers into the 1:47s. This man is one of them, Luca Ludwig, with a 1:47.258. He was 5 tenths to make that 5/100ths down on the Auto House Ulrich driver, Timo Glock, who's gone P1 with a 1:47.199. 1:47.943 for Philippe Baron. Then it's Jean-Luc Daria, who is now 4th within the Trofeo Pirelli group. Then it's Franz Engstler. And this right now is Hendrik Viol, who's P2 in Pirelli Am. He's just been bested by Marco Zanazzi. So Hendrik Viol, who is hoping for an improvement here. He's got the Trofeo Pirelli driver ahead of him, who makes way for Hendrik Viol for Scuderia Prague. Sector 1 was a big improvement. Sector 2, less so. I wonder if he got caught by some traffic Should give a big shout out to James Owen, the Meridian Modena driver, who is second fastest within class. And Hendrik Viol does not improve. He can go again. There's 50 seconds left on the clock. So if you have time left on the clock when you cross the timing line, you can go again. As far as Luca Ludwig is done, he is completed as Fabian Volvend watches the action. And the front runners of Timo Glock and Luca Ludwig have decided to park the cars. Now, Philippe Baron, is he still out there? If he is, he's not posting any purple sectors currently. So Luca is out of the car. A congratulatory pat on the back. And here is the number 26 car of James Owen for Meridian Modena. And I was really bigging up James Owen a few moments ago because he's second fastest within class. It's only Marco Zanazzi that's ahead of him, and James Owen through sector 1 has improved. That will have cost him. That will have cost him. Sector 2 was an improvement as well, but he just ran out wide and picked up some gravel. So James Owen really was pushing very, very hard. And a really good showing from James Owen with his previous time of 1:48.867. That's enough for second in class, P6 overall. But the lap, I would suggest, has been completely compromised, and he has bailed it. And the checkered flag is out. No one is going purple. Therefore, our pole sitter for our first Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli race of 2024 is going to be Timo Glock. And the front row is going to be an all-German one, as Kim Eriksson has made contact somewhere. You can see that he's made contact with the front of the car somewhere because the wheels are pointing in the wrong direction. So checkered flag out, yellow flag at turn 8. That does for anyone that was on an improvement, but there wasn't anyone improving, to be fair.
Well, Klaus de Brunsen is in the final sector. He might still elevate himself a little bit from P4 in class, so we watch that as we take a look in pit lane, and there is indeed the number 17 car, and that is...
Yes, one Mr. T. Glock. Well done, Timo.
And to Brunson, just to wrap that up, he has improved in terms of his timing. He hasn't improved in terms of position, so he remains P4 in class, P9 overall, and yeah, Kim Eriksson
out of the car, perfectly okay. The integral safety of the 296 Challenge car is unquestioned, and Kim is able to walk away from the car perfectly okay. Cars are all in the pit lane now, and very, very well done to Timo Glock then. I was talking to him yesterday, and he's so pleased to be racing a Ferrari. And here we can see him then in super slow-mo as he absolutely nailed this 296 car and extracted the maximum out of it. But well done to all the other drivers as well. Across the top 3, we are talking about merely 7/10. Across the top 2, between Timo Glock and Luca Ludwig, we're talking about just a tad under 6/100ths between the two of them. I mean, that's closer in terms of qualifying. Just imagine what the race is going to be like this afternoon. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So well done to Timo Glock, the Autohaus Ulrich driver. Then he takes P1 in the first qualifying session for Trofeo Pirelli. It's Marco Zanazzi who is P1 for our Pirelli Am drivers. There's Timo. He's one of motorsport's big characters, and long may that remain. Timo Glock, P1, Luca Ludwig, P2, Philippe Baron, P3. Then it's Jean-Luc Daria, ahead of Franz Engstler, Max Mugello, and Benz Valent. And don't rule Benz out, so they occupy the first 7 places of our qualifying classification for our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. We'll bring you the classification for our Pirelli Am drivers momentarily as well. And those drivers, you can identify them from the white strip across the top of the windscreen, but top of the chart is going to be Marco Zanazzi. There he is with a 1:48.745 ahead of James Owen. James, that was a brilliant qualifying. So too for Hendrik Viol, who's third fastest, ahead of Klaus Branson. Andreas Berg Sorensen, really improved driver. Then it was Andrew Morrow. Kim Eriksson before he fell prey to the gravel. Danilo Del Favero, Hanno Laskovski. Angelo Fontana, then Laura Villas, Otto Blank, Gianmarco Marzioletti, David Akobadzi ahead of Herbert Geis, And then Armin Arifpour, Matthias Toman and Ruslan Sadrev with no times to post on the board, so they become P16, 17 and 18. Nico Spalek alongside me here, the Oracle. That was it was a dramatic qualifying session because it didn't go from start to finish.
No, it was a dramatic one, and Ben Svellen, certainly one of our returning campaigners in the Pirelli class, really totally out of position in P22 overall. He will have some overtaking to do, and he'll certainly go about that business. At the very front, Timo Glock, Luca Ludwig, Philip Barron. I mean, that is a combination of names.
Looking forward to it.
That was Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am qualifying. We're due to the red flags, Coppa Shell Am qualifying rather, is only about 13 minutes or so away, which means we only have a very short break to get one of the Italy's favorite product outside of Ferrari, which is a cup of coffee.
Thank you for watching from Nico and from me. Make sure you join us for Coppa Shell Quali for the AM category next. Hello everyone and welcome to Mugello. You join us for qualifying for Ferrari Challenge, our first qualifying session of our 2024 season for our Coppa Shell Am drivers that will be taking to the track momentarily, and some 18 drivers that will be contesting who will be best in Coppa Shell Am. It's the Mugello circuit that we're at then, which is just under an hour away from Florence, 1 hour 10 from Bologna, perhaps, situated in Scarperia here in Tuscany. 5.2 kilometers, 14 turns, 6 left, 8 right. Sector 1 has 3 of them. Sector 2 with 6, and Sector 3 with 5 turns. It forms round 1 of our 2024 calendar. Round 2 is at a brand new circuit in Hungary, Balaton. Then it's Jerez, Portimao in Portugal. It's kind of our summer tour there. South of France with Le Castellet, and then into the snow at Nürburgring in September, which I jest. It's not impossible.
No, never impossible. Hello,
Nico,
everybody.
hello, how are you?
Yeah. Not thinking of Nürburgring, but the other ones look like a series of holiday destinations. But obviously, neither the drivers nor we go there on holidays. I don't want to say it's serious business because it's very enjoyable both for us as well as for our contestants. But obviously, now that we are 3 minutes away from Coppa Shell Am qualifying, our contestants will be very much focused on what lies ahead of them. And what lies ahead of them is not only great weather, the track temperature is already up at 29 degrees, but some clouds look a little bit menacing on this shot. Don't really look as menacing when we look out the window, but certainly don't expect anything but a dry qualifying for our Coppa Shell Am drivers. And there are 18 of them, and that is a big part of why we have a third qualifying session this morning, which is just a testament to the number of entries.
As we look at the lovely green there, will you allow me a moment of self-indulgence? Because this afternoon, back in the UK, my local football team will be taking part in a match which could see them elevated to the Premier League. So good luck to the Tractor Boys of Ipswich Town FC. Go do it, boys. So thank you for allowing me that little self-indulgence.
And that is very, very rare, given how much you love the sport of football.
Yes, I'm sorry.
if I may be honest.
I much prefer these, which is racing cars, and there are none better than the Ferrari Challenge cars, particularly this season, 2024, because for all of these 18 competitors that you talk about, Nico, it's a brand new car. It's the Ferrari 296, which I have to say, every driver, including Lisa Clark, one of the most traveled racers in Ferrari Challenge, every driver loves these cars. They are a truly remarkable racing car. Through testing, through the first rounds that we've seen in North America at COTA just last weekend, where I was, where the weather conditions were extraordinary. I'll talk about that in due course. Every driver gets out of the car with a huge smile on their face because the cars are so rewarding to drive. And talking of North America, a driver that was racing there just last weekend, we can see the back end of his car making his way to the start of the pit lane, and that is Louis Perusquia, who drives for Rosso Corsa and loves driving here in Europe, and is going to contest all of the European season with us. This is the 1A1 car, which is driven by Maurizio Pittori for Radici Automobili Best Lap FCI, which doesn't roll off the tongue quite as eloquently as I would like. And the 104 car is driven by Andreas Koenig for the Haupt Racing Team. And I have to say, Nico, a big welcome to the Haupt Racing Team. I was talking to their team principal yesterday, one Mr. Manuel Reuter, who in his day was something of a formidable racing driver. And he was saying it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Hubert Haupt might make some guest appearances in the Ferrari Challenge this year. Won't that be something to look forward to? So the 119 car of Louis Perusquia then, first out of the blocks and onto the track for our Coppa Shell Am qualifying 1, which gets underway right now. So all the drivers with their brand new car, shod with brand new tyres for this qualifying, to set the best possible lap they can that will give them the best possible grid position for their race to come this afternoon. Lisa Clark then makes her way out on track. Maurizio Pittori choosing to hold off just for a moment or so before heading out onto the track. As Nico has mentioned, some 18 cars will be contesting this 30-minute qualifying session. When it comes to the race this afternoon, slightly altered race duration, 30 minutes plus 1 lap will be what greets our drivers. Driver coaches and engineers and team principals all line the pit wall in their pit gantries as we look at Giuseppe Romelli, the Pellin Racing driver. Giuseppe Romelli, who is a driver can always be relied upon to pull it out of the hat when he needs to, and he's not certainly not unusual to see him on a podium or taking a race win. Wonder how many he'll be able to add to his tally during the course of this season. Time will tell. Roland Hurtner is another one of our Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am drivers, who drives the Go Motorsport car number 159. The 181 car, Maurizio Pittori, that we mentioned just a few moments ago. And just some of these lovely shots of these 296 cars. Absolute joy to behold. A truly, truly beautiful racing car. We have just under 28 minutes of the qualifying session. Don't really expect to see any meaningful times on the board until the first 5 minutes of qualifying is done and dusted. And then it will give us just an indicator of where the drivers will be looking for in terms of their lap time. We do know that the 296 car, powered by that twin-turbo V6, which produces something like 700 horsepower, will give us times that are better than we've ever seen in the Ferrari Challenge. The car is awesomely quick and really very, very forgiving for our drivers as well. So we're expecting to see some great times. So final stages of preparation for Maurizio Pittori before we will see him out there on track. Although actually, just looking at that shot, seemingly in no hurry to get out there quite yet. Here comes Lisa Clark then. I mentioned that Lisa Clark is a very, very well-traveled driver, champion driver as well, taking the Coppa Shell Am Championship in North America last year, and richly deserved as well. And Lisa Clark also really loving to race in Europe. And when you consider, Nico, and I moan about how tired I feel sometimes, having just flown back from Texas, you know, actually Lisa's got a bigger job than I have. She's done exactly the same, and she's been testing since Wednesday here. We've been testing from a broadcast point of view since Wednesday, and all the rehearsals having gone well. Giuseppe Romelli still in the garage, as you can see, and the number 100 car of Dr. Stephen Earle, the Cassell Racing driver. And Dr. Stephen Earle, another American racer. He was at Circuit of the Americas last weekend, but was not racing. And here comes Lisa Clark then. And Lisa's probably going to be the first one to give us a time on the board. She heads to completing this particular lap. So the familiar blue and orange colors of the Lisa Clark car. Paolo Scudieri is going to be one to watch as he remains in the pit lane. We have Andreas Koenig out there, Hassan Dabusi, and the 188 car that we can see now of Josef Schumacher for Eberlein Schumacher Racing. Josef Schumacher then, we were talking about liveries across these cars, and Josef has gone to town on this one, that's for sure. You're not going to miss it, Nico?
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. It is quite visible in more ways than one, and I mean, Josef is a great character here in the paddock. When you see all those liveries, maybe the one Josef and his character and his livery are maybe the ones which I wouldn't immediately put together in a match the driver in livery game. But, you know, maybe I'll get to talk to him about his motivation for picking it. I didn't have the chance yet, but, you know, it is certainly quite visible. Very, very different style.
Shintaro Aketsu, then, we can see now, and as you say, Nico, a completely different style. But the cars look absolutely wonderful, sound wonderful, and perform very well also. Lisa Clark did give us our first time. It's 2:03. Now we are expecting the times to come tumbling down from there, but nonetheless, Akutso, of course, is running for a brand new team this year. The Anico team. It's the team combo with Shintaro. Then also a big shout out to Hassan Debussy, who's driving for Formula Racing, Nico. We met Hassan Debussy, of course, when Ferrari contested their Winter Series in Abu Dhabi, January this year. February, January, wasn't it?
Just the and cut to there with quite a little bit of a power slide. Not intentional, not necessarily quick, but you can see sector time still significant improvement. Not that we are already into the part of the qualifying where we expect our final times to come from. Yes, it was at Abu Dhabi. I think it was just the first few days of February that the event took place in 2024, and that was our first Ferrari experience of the year, and it was a very nice one. The weather was really, really nice, and now today we can say the same thing about Mugello.
Yes,
it wasn't quite the same at Kota, and wasn't quite the same for much of the week.
Mini tornado, would you believe? Right. Despite the little slidey moment, it was a reasonable lap. As we look now at the 150 car, I think the lap was disallowed for track limits. This is Ramos then, and Alvaro Ramos then for the Santigol Rosso Competizione car team combination. It's Lisa Clark currently from Perescoia, then Josef Schumacher, then Hassan Debussy, and Alvaro running in P3 at the moment, Alvaro Ramos. Here's Josef Schumacher then, P4 currently, but with the almost needing sunglasses to watch car as it heads towards the timing line. Now Josef Schumacher takes 6/10 out of the previous best time from Lisa Clark and goes provisionally to P1 in the first 9 minutes of this qualifying session. In the meantime, hoping for an improvement will be Shintaro Aketsu, and certainly Sector 1 and Sector 2 are both purple, with a cumulative time some 3 seconds down on the best that's been posted by Josef Schumacher thus far. So providing he doesn't have that sideways slidey movement, and that's all looking pretty promising currently. With one turn to do, this could be a new provisional P1. I say provisional because we've still got 20 minutes of this qualifying session to come. Millimetrically perfect out of the final turn, and heading towards the timing beam and breaking it now with a time that was 3.8 seconds quicker. It's a 1:52.254. More drivers coming out onto track.
Yeah, just as a reference point, Coppa Shell pole time was just over 1:49, so maybe not expecting quite that, but the 1:52.254 already a very, very respectable time. And Josef Schumacher, he has got the purple on the livery, at least in parts, and he is going to try to set purple sectors also on our timing screen. Hasn't quite done it on this occasion and this lap, but you can see the car compresses under braking as he dives into this final turn of the lap, and then lots of momentum coming out, not diving into the pit lane, but passing the pit lane entry, and it's a long, very, very, very long start-finish straight. You've got a lot of time to prepare for the next sequence of turns, and there is Eric Chung. A little bit of an unsettling moment there.
Well done, Eric. He saved that. That could have gone oh so wrong, managing to hold on to that. Well done, Eric. Another hugely experienced Ferrari Challenge driver is Eric Chung, and a heart-in-the-mouth moment for Eric, but he will come back from that as Lisa Clark, who is currently second fastest, and I don't think this lap is going to trouble Shintaro Akatsu. As Lisa Clark then breaks the timing beam with a time of 1:50. Well, that's some 6 seconds down, so she was preparing for this lap, I hazard to guess. So, Akatsu from Clark, from Schumacher, from Debussy, from Peruskia, from Levy, from Ramos. Sorry, Nico, I interrupted you. Such is my rudeness.
I apologize. There is the 168 car of Zoe Scrimpias, a new entry to the Ferrari Challenge. Also a very, very interesting combination of colors and schemes and patterns, and he is filing towards the end of the pit lane, also racing for the new Anico Riparto Corse RAM team. And we haven't done quite the research. We were told that they were the first winning team in the Ferrari Challenge history. We will get onto our documents and archives and make sure that that information is verified when we come back later for the race. But for the time being, that does not really matter. All that matters is for Zois to go through the motions, through the preparation of the car, the tires, to go for a quick flying lap. We've got 12 minutes and change elapsed. That means 17 minutes and counting down remaining in this qualifying session. And Josef Schumacher and his 296 challenge car again filled our screen with a beautiful combination of colors and, dare I say, an even more beautiful driving style.
I don't think I would take issue with that at all. Well called. One Mr. N. Spalek alongside me here for the duration of our qualifying sessions, where currently P1 is Shintaro Akatsu with a 1:52.254. This is not going to be an improvement. Andrea Levy then second fastest. Eric Chung has recovered from that fairly hairy moment and is P3 ahead of Hassan Debussy, Josef Schumacher, Lisa Clark, Mutlu Tazev. Then it's Louis Peruskia, Alvaro Ramos, Henrik Kamstrup, and Paolo Scudieri. Yet to see times from Stephen Earle, Andreas Koenig, Roland Hurtner, Zoe Scrimpias, Giuseppe Romelli, Maurizio Pittori, and also Jan Benedict Sandman, who we met during the Winter Challenge as well. So second fastest currently. Is this going to be an improvement from Levy? Well, it may have been a personal improvement, but it didn't. He's still some 0.3 down on the Shintaro Akatsu time. This is the 171 car of Andrea Levy then that we were talking about just a few moments ago. And there is Germana Doniela, who Germana and her husband are racing this year. They're sharing the car. So good to see Germana back in the paddock again. And Eric Chung goes quickest with a 1:51.961. 1:51.961, Nico.
First one underneath the 152 barrier, but more drivers with purple sectors coming up. And Andrea Levy, who we just saw putting it onto P2, has improved dramatically in Sector 1, almost 9/10.
Wow.
That's almost a full second in Sector 1 only. And that means that the current pole time by Eric Chung is very much under threat. No indication of any track limit infringement, and finally, usually you have track limit issues on the outside of tracks. Here, turn 4, which is the first part of the chicane, it's more on the inside that drivers are able to take a little bit of a liberty cutting the corner. However, it's not allowed. You have to stay with 2 wheels at least on the gray stuff, and therefore it's tempting. And Levy, second sector, again very quick, 1.284 seconds quicker through 2 sectors, and I'm sure we will catch up with him very shortly as he makes his way. And there he is, thanks guys, into the final turn of the lap, and he's rounded the turn there. We pick him up as he heads out onto the long start-finish straight. And it almost feels like it takes forever from the exit of that turn to the timing line, and indeed he has improved and put it onto P1. Lost a little bit of time in the final sector, likely due to traffic. Didn't quite see it, but still, very strong lap. And that relegates this man to P2.
And Eric Chung, who has improved personally through Sector 1 and Sector 2, I don't think it's going to be enough unless he's really pulled something out of the hat in the final sector. I think he will stay P2, yes, by 9/100ths. So it's very close between Andrea Levy and Eric Chung at the moment as to who is going to take that provisional pole, as Louis Peruschia says, do you know what, I've done as much as I can do, and decides to park the car.
Giving feedback to the team in terms of how he felt, and the experience. Obviously still very much a new car for everybody, also for the teams, also for the drivers.
Yeah, of course.
So every little bit of feedback is vital for the team and the driver to work in harmony.
Lisa Clark, look.
That is especially important now at this event, and Lisa Clark, she's biding her time a little bit. She's certainly going to go out again. Hello, Lisa. Yeah, thumbs up, definitely. Currently, Lisa Clark only, and I say that with all due respect, only P12, because we know she is so very quick and has so much racing experience. So she is certainly going to go out with the aspiration of certainly getting into the single digits. And there is the 104 car, and that is the man who's currently P last on our timing screen by virtue of the fact that he hasn't set a time yet, and he's going to right that wrong. It's a green car. No, it's a red car. It really depends on which side you look at the car. Very nice artwork with the Italian flag. It's a little bit confusing for us when you look for the green car and it's all of a sudden it's red because it comes from the other side. Andrea's not doing us a lot of favors there, but it's really iconic, and that livery is quite recognizable, even though it is on a new model of the Ferrari Challenge sequence of models. It's the 101 car, and that's Paolo Scudieri.
Paolo was also another one of the drivers that came out to the sunshine during the winter and raced in the Winter Challenge to some success, it has to be said. The Samoa driver Paolo Scudieri then, who is currently 6th fastest, but look at this, Sector 1, purple, Sector 2, purple. Paolo Scudieri means business here as he climbs uphill now. Goes through all the grid boxes ahead of breaking the timing beam. Paolo Scudieri then, and he posts a time, 3/1000ths, Nico?
Yeah,
but track limits violation.
Yeah, unfortunately our timing screen has a little TL next to that time, which otherwise would have elevated him into the first row, and unfortunately that doesn't count, so he stays in the position. But on the positive side, he's shown he's got the pace in the car, so he's certainly going to go again. But you always need that clean lap with little or no traffic ideally, and two drivers who are currently going for that are Maurizio Pittori and Giuseppe Ramelli. And here we have Maurizio Pittori. He is entering that final turn. Traffic is not going to trouble him anymore on this lap, I dare predict. Takes the final turn and now goes out onto the straight. Currently P9, our pole time, a 1:51.406. That's probably not going to happen, but it could be an improvement, and indeed it is. P6 climbs in our standings, and Giuseppe Ramelli is trying to follow suit, or rather get even higher in our standings. The 172 car, red, yellow, traditional combination, and well, traditional. P1.
Yes, new provisional pole from Giuseppe Ramelli, then a 1:51.023. It's potential within the next 10 minutes to see our times into the 150s. 1:51.023 from Giuseppe Ramelli, who's just bested Eric Chung. Andreas Koenig now goes 2nd fastest with a 1:51.1. Eric Chung then relegated to P3 ahead of Andrea Levy, Henrik Kamstrup, and Lisa Clark has decided to get out of the car, which current North America Coppa Shell Am champion. Rather feel there's a look of disappointment on Lisa's face there. However, she knows how to overtake, that's for sure, and expect to see some great racing to come from Lisa Clark this afternoon. Giuseppe Romelli is P1 from Andreas Koenig for the Gome Motorsport House Racing Team. Giuseppe Romelli drives for Stefano Pellin, the Pellin Racing, and Eric Chung for Formula Racing is P3. That is the top three, and here is the Triple One car for Formula Racing of Hassan Dabusi. He is currently probably further down the order than he would like to be in P12. Got 9 minutes to improve the confusion-generating livery of Andreas Koenig then, who went better certainly through Sector 1 personally, but Sector 2 was not going in the right direction, so he's chosen to bail this lap. Will he go again? We will see. And we can see also Zoe Skrimpias, who's out there on track now, who's going quickly, Nico.
Yeah, indeed. Through 2 sectors, we see purple, and that means that our current pole time of 1:51.023 of Giuseppe Romelli may be under threat, traffic permitting, and that's going to be another, let's say, 30 seconds until we see Zoe's come across the line and we finish Andreas Koenig's lap, which unfortunately is not going to be an improvement, unfortunately for him, but there is the man that we were talking about, and now we get a chance to see that green and yellow livery again, and speeding towards the line and speeding across the line, easily eclipsing the 1:51 mark.
Yes, taking some 6/10 out. Giorgio Seneggiotto, team boss of Reparto Corsa Ram, will be pretty happy with Zoe Skrimpias' performance there. And to be fair, Nico, brought it out, did 1 lap, and you know, then really made it count on the next lap. Great job done, great job done. We can see photographs being taken here. Always nice to see Maurizio Pittori. Is he going to pose? And my heckers like.
Yeah, and I think they are discussing whether it makes sense to go out again.
I agree.
And like a proverbial knife through butter, Eric Chung passing through traffic, and that wasn't the usual line that he takes through there, and I think it figured on the exit of that sequence, but he keeps it controlled. Maybe a little more adventurous than he would have liked it on a normal day, but keeps it pointing in the right direction. P4 for the time being, 6 minutes. 45 seconds remaining in this qualifying session. This is not going to be the improvement, but he is certainly going to go again, at least we think so. You can see there is currently only 5 cars in pit lane, and we can see that one of those is exiting the pit lane just a few moments ago, and that driver we could see was Hassan Dabusi, who is going out once again as Eric Chung completes this lap and sets himself up for another go-around.
Yes, drivers have to make the consideration as we look at this. It was another big save from Eric Chung, who held on to this, Nico. Eric absolutely pushing the car and exploring its utter limits, and another good save from Eric Chung. At this point in qualifying, where we have less than 6 minutes remaining, it's all about tyre preservation and whether it's worth going back out again, Nico, and scrubbing more rubber off the Pirellis, or whether it's better to accept that the lap time that you've got is going to give you the opportunity, presumably, to do some overtaking in the race. That's what Mutlo Tazev will have presumably decided in conversation with his coach and engineers, because we have only got 5.5 minutes of this qualifying session. As Giuseppe Romelli, who I was going to say if any driver is likely to go again, it would be Giuseppe Romelli, and completely quashing my thought process is the fact that Giuseppe Romelli undoes the belt and will be getting out of the car, and presumably will be happy with that P2. We are talking, of course, the honour of the Rotiform Pole Position Award is up for grabs for P1 in each of our categories, and that's what Paolo Scudieri would like to earn. moment this lap, I would suggest, is not going to be the one that would take him there potentially.
No, don't think so. There is also a point, let's not forget that, in the championship standings for pole position. So whoever wins this qualifying session will be our provisional championship leader by virtue of having an extra point over everybody else. So stop the season. Champion after qualifying one. It's not how it works, but it is a point, and we've seen it time and time again. 1 point can make all the difference, and you never know which point it is. And obviously, starting from P1 in the race is the biggest prize, but you can take the point if you can get it. And Paolo Scudieri not going to get the point on this occasion, I'm sure, but P10 is not where he would like to start the race later on. So with 4 minutes remaining, he's arguably got 3 more cracks at that. Not sure he's going to take all of those, but certainly still has a chance to improve. Akatsu also in the final sector, and his first 2 sectors were very, very decent, to say the least. He's currently in P8, but on trajectory for a significant improvement, not necessarily for the first row, although it's not not out of the question. 1:54.00 is our pole time. A 1:51.0 would be P2, and
not where we expected it to be.
Well, the time was there, but a TL for track limits was also there, and that means, unfortunately, the time doesn't count. And here is our provisional pole setter.
And there you can see Giorgio Sanaggiotto offering congratulations. Manu Gosner in there as well, and Germana Toniella, who I was mentioning there. Here is the Lisa Clark car. We're not going to see that go again. We've got 3 minutes of the session remaining. So Zoe Skrimpias then, P1 with a 150.40. Whoa, that was a big moment. Well done to our team for getting us that. A multiple 360 from Hassan Dabusi, but kept it on the tarmac. Well done, Hassan, for holding on to that. This is the number 100 car of Dr. Stephen Earle. And with Stephen Earle is currently where in the timing screen? He is P12. So looking for an improvement. Loves his Ferrari Challenge racing here in Europe, and very, very welcome to see him back, this time driving the 296 car. So for Kessel Racing, long-time campaigner Stephen Earle then, personal best through Sector 1, so it could be an improvement on his current P12 place. We will see. The top 5, incidentally, in our timing order currently have decided to park the cars in the pit lane. Henrik Kamstrup, I think, is still out there, and he was within a second or so of our front runners. He could be someone that's looking for an improvement, and Stephen Earle is certainly another driver that's looking for some improvement as well. Will it trouble our top 6 cars? I don't think so. But the Kessel Racing drive then, long-time Kessel campaigner, with the likes of von Skulsmar and so many other notable names that have raced for that that wonderful team. And Hassan Dabusi has decided to pit the car after that multiple spin moment where he saved the car remarkably. And Stephen Earle, again, another personal best through Sector 2. So this should be an improvement. Now, I was the one that mentioned a few moments ago that Paolo Scudieri could still pull something out of this here. He's got some traffic, which is going to, I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to compromise this lap, because actually he wasn't necessarily quicker through Sector 1 and Sector 2 than he had been previously. It's now a question of whether he can get to the timing beam before it's broken to bring the session to a close. And I think he will be able to do that, because going through the final chicane now, one more turn to do. And Paolo will be looking to try and find the track time, because with one more lap, it's the only opportunity he will have to better his current grid position, Nico.
Yeah, but he decides not to do that. I think there was Henrik Kamstrup in the blue car that came through in the background, and he is certainly trying once again. Almost matched his previous time. He's currently in P6, and he's going to go once again. There is Eric Chung with a significant slide through that turn. I mean, beautiful camera work, really, really nice shot of the Eric Chung 296 challenge with a 198 number on the bonnet, on the windscreen.
We only have 3 cars that were on a lap that could improve. Henrik Kamstrup could be one of those. You're looking at the sector times, Nico, and no, I don't think so. Stephen Earle also still out, and Alvaro Ramos as well. The session has finished. We've got the checkered flag out. I rather think that we have our pole sitter, and that's Zoe Skrimpias. Well done, a 150.400, a full 6 1/4 tenths ahead of Giuseppe Romelli, who takes P2, and Andreas Koenig, who is P3. We will, of course, bring you the full classification in just a few moments once every driver has returned. Here's a driver that I expected potentially to improve in the final stages, and that's Paolo Scudieri. Well done, Zoe. Great job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And unlike previously, where we already had Shell and Shell Am qualifying separately and then put them together on a grid for the race, remember, this is not the case here. Our Coppa Shell Am drivers will have their own race, so Zoe Skrimpias will be the man who will follow the safety car on the formation lap for the race later on, and he will have, ideally after turn 1, a clear view ahead of this 18-car strong grid later this afternoon for the race.
We saw Andreas Koenig a few moments ago as he jumped out of the car. There's Paolo Scudieri just taking a look at the timing screens. Everyone is done now, and therefore the classification is confirmed with Zoe Skrimpias P1 ahead of Giuseppe Romelli and Andreas Koenig, and here come some great shots of the 296 then that has propelled for the Reparto Corsa Ram team. Zoe Skrimpias to P1 in qualifying. It's a valuable point. It's a valuable starting position. Going from the very front of the pack. So our Coppa Shell Am qualifying completed. All 18 drivers posting the best time that they possibly could. Some will be thrilled, some will be disappointed. I hesitate to say there are a few drivers who are perhaps out of position, which means it's going to be a very exciting race to come a little bit later on today when the cars take to the track. Zoe Skrimpias then, P1, Giuseppe Romelli P2 ahead of Andreas Koenig P3. Then it's Andrea Levy and Eric Chung ahead of Henrik Kamstrup, Roland Hurtner and Shitaro Akatsu, who was troubling the top end earlier on in the qualifying session. That completes the first 4 rows of the grid. With Maurizio Pittori, Paolo Scudieri, Jan Sandman, who goes from a very creditable P11 just ahead of Stephen Earle, then Mutlu Tazev, Hassan Dabusi and Josef Schumacher. Before we see the final 3 places in our Coppa Shell Am qualifying result, which go the way of Lisa Clark, Alvaro Ramos and Louis Peruskia, P16, P17 and P18 respectively. So with the full and formal classification done and dusted, from Nico and from myself, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you join us as we see Zoe Skrimpias receive the Rotiform Pole Position Award. Please make sure you join us for the races to come this afternoon live from Mugello. For now, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.